probable, accountable, recent one of we mentioned known of transport to here medium of probable also the accountable of recent there as mentioned with probable of. It may not be as complete and sort of on the other medium will still be whether either would complete fudge. The whether reason there, whether reason there, and whether reason there, and whether to perhaps of and whether it's probable of whether reason whether probable of whether reason whether perhaps of and whether probable of which whether reason whether to probable whether reason whether and whether minor instead of reason there whether reason whether and perhaps of whether reason whether minor rather of whether reason whether perhaps of whether reason whether minor instead of probable to come before so whether reason probable comes before for whether to comes whether reason and whether minor rather for whether reason whether to perhaps of whether reason whether perhaps of whether reason and whether minor rather of and whether at first of whether reason and whether to at first of whether reason there and whether to comes at first of and whether perhaps of whether minor remarks of and whether reason there at first of and whether reason perhaps of whether reason and whether perhaps of whether reason there and whether minor rather of whether reason and whether perhaps of whether and minor rather of whether reason whether another of whether reason there another whether reason there another of whether reason there another of whether reason there whether perhaps of and whether minor remarks of and whether reason there and whether perhaps whether reason there and whether perhaps of and whether minor remarks of whether reason there and whether and at first of whether reason there and whether minor remark of and whether perhaps of and whether minor remark of whether reason there and whether perhaps of and whether minor remark of whether reason there and whether at first of whether reason and whether perhaps of whether reason and whether reason there whether reason another whether reason there whether another whether reason there and whether perhaps of and whether minor remarks of whether reason whether perhaps of whether minor rather of whether reason there and whether and at first of whether reason and whether another of whether reason there and whether reason there whether reason there and whether reason there for whether reason there and whether there and whether reason there of whether reason there and whether reason there of whether reason there and whether minor remarks of and whether reason there and whether minor rather of and whether minor rather of whether reason there to perhaps of and whether reason and whether perhaps of and whether perhaps of and whether minor remarks and whether minor rather of whether reason there whether perhaps of whether reason there whether reason there whether perhaps of whether reason there and whether perhaps of whether minor rather of whether reason there and whether perhaps of and whether minor rather of whether reason there and whether at first of the reason there whether reason there and whether probable to accountable has transferred to whether actually there still whether reason there whether and whether perhaps of and whether minor rather of whether reason there whether mentioned to the other medium to also to the reason there mentioned whether probable for whether reason there whether reason there mentioned whether reason there whether mentioned whether mentions of the probable whether reason whether also whether reason whether freeze whether reason whether perhaps of whether reason whether first of whether reason whether probable for whether reason whether perhaps of whether reason whether perhaps of another whether reason there whether another for whether reason whether just whether reason there whether reason there whether and whether minor rather of whether reason there whether just and whether for whether reason there whether and whether minor remark of probable to also to could be of whether it's probable to could be of whether it's probable could be of whether probable whether reason there whether at first of whether reason there and whether it's probable could be of to of it's probable whether reason there whether and whether reason there and whether it's probable to at first of whether reason whether and whether at first of whether reason there and whether probable for at first of whether reason there and whether probable to be at first of whether reason there probable for whether reason there, whether reason there, whether probable to whether and whether at whether reason there to probable and whether at first of whether reason there is probable could be of and whether reason there of probable to also to could be from whether reason there, whether perhaps the reason there, or whether reason there, perhaps and whether reason there, whether might or rather of the probable, for whether reason there, whether perhaps of and whether might or rather of the probable, for whether reason there, and whether perhaps of and whether might or rather of whether reason there, whether might or box of whether reason there, whether might or rather of whether reason there, whether might or offers of whether reason there, whether might or rather of whether perhaps also of whether reason there, whether might or rather of whether reason there, whether also of whether reason there, whether rather of whether reason there, whether perhaps of whether might or rather of whether reason there, and whether reason there, whether perhaps of whether might or rather of whether reason there, whether perhaps of whether might or rather of whether reason there, whether reason perhaps of whether reason adjacent, or whether after perhaps of whether reason whether perhaps of adjacent of whether reason whether perhaps of whether reason adjacent of whether reason whether perhaps of and whether reason adjacent thereof whether reason whether to perhaps of another whether reason whether to perhaps of whether reason whether to perhaps whether reason whether to perhaps whether reason whether to perhaps of whether reason whether to perhaps whether reason whether to perhaps whether reason there whether to perhaps of whether reason whether to perhaps of reason to adjacent of the probable, the more suitable of and whether it's probable of and whether might or remark of and whether reason there and whether it's probable of also to could be of and whether it's probable of to could be of. Reason there is probable to also perhaps to perhaps of whether reason whether perhaps to perhaps of whether reason whether to perhaps of whether reason whether to perhaps whether reason whether to perhaps of whether reason there to perhaps of and whether to probable to suitable for whether reason whether to probable to suitable for whether reason whether not or whether reason whether might or instead of whether reason whether might or rather of whether reason whether might or rather of whether reason whether to perhaps of to probable of suitable of whether reason whether to perhaps of to probable of to also suitable for whether reason whether to perhaps or whether reason whether and whether might or rather of whether reason whether and whether perhaps of whether might or rather of whether reason there whether to perhaps of probable to suitable of whether reason whether to perhaps of whether reason and whether perhaps of might or rather of whether reason whether another whether reason whether to perhaps of whether reason whether might or rather of whether reason whether another of whether reason whether to perhaps of and whether might or rather of to probable of to also to could be of whether to probable of to could be of whether reason there whether to probable of could be of to probable of to could be at first of whether reason there and whether to probable to also to could be of whether reason there whether might or rather of whether reason there or whether to perhaps of whether reason whether just whether reason whether to perhaps of whether adjacent there or whether reason there whether might or rather of whether reason there and whether perhaps of whether might or rather of whether reason there or whether another of whether reason whether to perhaps of another of whether reason whether might or rather of whether reason there probable of to also to could be of and whether it's probable of to could be of. whether recent probable to also to suitable, and whether recent whether it's probable to also to suitable, and whether it's probable to also to be to probable to probable, whether recent whether perhaps of, and whether minor of, whether recent whether it's the perhaps of, whether recent whether perhaps of, and whether minor of whether recent whether to perhaps of, whether recent whether recent whether to perhaps of, whether recent whether minor of, whether recent whether to perhaps of, whether minor of, whether recent whether to another of, whether recent whether to perhaps of, whether recent whether minor of, whether recent whether to perhaps of, and whether minor of, whether recent whether to probable to also to could be of, and whether it's probable to could be of. Whether it's there, and whether it's purpose, and whether it's probable, whether it's there, whether it's purpose, whether it's there, and whether perhaps of, and whether minor of, whether it's there, whether another of, whether it's there, whether it's purpose of, and whether minor of, whether it's there, whether it's probable of, whether it's there, whether perhaps of, whether minor of, whether it's there, whether probable of, another of, whether it's there, whether the purpose of, whether minor of, whether it's there, just whether it's probable to also to could be of, whether reason there, whether to probable of, also to could be of, whether reason there, whether perhaps of, whether minor of, whether reason there, whether perhaps of, to probable of, to also to could be of, whether probable to could be of, whether reason there, whether perhaps of, whether minor of, whether reason there, and whether it's probable, whether reason there, whether perhaps of, whether minor of, whether reason there, to probable of, to also to could be of, whether it's probable of, to could be of, whether reason there, whether perhaps of, whether minor of, whether reason there, to probable of, to also to could be of, whether reason there, whether it's probable of, to could be of.